The entire Commander Legends Baldur's Gate set has been fully spoiled, which means we finally get to talk about the top 15 most valuable cards from the set.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The Magic Historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered to take a look at the hottest cards from Baldur's Gate. Now, I just want to put it out there. I've been getting a lot of comments from people saying that YouTube hasn't been letting you know that my videos are coming out. I looked into it. Turns out that only about 1% of you are getting notifications. So you might want to make sure that your notifications are fully turned on, or you can join my Discord where I post every video that I make. That out of the way, let us dive in to the top 15 most expensive cards from Baldur's Gate, starting out with Bramble Sovereign at number 15. I have loved the Bramble Sovereign ever since it was originally printed back in the days of Battle Bond. The concept and power level of this card are both absolutely amazing. 2 green and 2 gets you a 4/4 Dryad that says whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield, you may pay 1 green and 1. If you do, that creature's controller creates a token that's a copy of that creature. Now, this is one of those cool abilities where most of the time you're only going to use it on yourself, but because of the way it's worded, you can also use it to make friends with other people at the table, or in weird circumstances, make them make an extra copy of a creature and go, here you go, I know you don't want this extra creature, but enjoy it, right? I'm just going to go ahead and hose you by forcing you to take an additional copy of a creature that you just wanted one of. There's a lot of fun applications of this card, and honestly, even if you're just playing a one-on-one game and you have no intention of making copies of your opponent's stuff for them, this is a really powerhouse card, and the flavor concept behind it is absolutely amazing. First of all, Dryads in Magic are normally depicted as feminine and lithe, right? They're very small and have small stats. You're looking at usually 1 toughness, maybe 2 power, right? What we have here is a sovereign, a lord of the Dryads, essentially. And you've got this big, fat, 4/4 beefy body, enough to stop an elephant in its tracks and survive. But on top of that, there's this beauty to the Sovereign where they love all forms of life and will create copies of them. If you look at the artwork, you can see that it's made a little bramble bunny and it's like petting it. It's just, this is such an amazing concept. This Dryad Lord who's capable of making bramble constructs that are exact mimics of virtually anything that exists. That flavor level is off the hook, my friends. So that is coming in at number 15. Number 10 to number 14 are the cycle of 5 lands that are also actual reprints. These are lands specifically designed for Commander in an interesting way. All the lands say that they enter the battlefield tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents. So in a one-on-one game, it's like whatever. These don't really add to the power level of formats like Modern and the old Vintage and stuff like that, but specifically for Commander, these are an hot item. And that's why you're finding all 5 of them coming in at that rank with Sea of Clouds, Spire Garden, Bountiful Promenade, Luxury Suite, and Morphic Pool. All right, moving on to number 9 on the list, we have the Ancient Silver Dragon. This thing is absolutely bonkers, and this totally feels like a card that over time will move up the rankings. So that understand that this video was made at the time of pre-release. I don't include the prices because they basically fluctuate so rapidly that by the time you see the video, they're probably already inaccurate. So instead, this is the stage that we're at. So right now, Ancient Silver Dragon is the 9th most valuable card in the set. I fully expect over time for this guy to move up the ranks because his ability is bonkers. Yes, he does cost 8 mana. 2 blue and 6 is a ton of mana. But he's an 8/8 Elder Dragon flying in, and whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you get to roll a d20. You draw that many cards, so you draw from 1 to 20 cards and have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. You know, this may be one of those cards that ultimately isn't the absolute most powerful, but it is one of those cards that will grab you by the scruff of your coat and go, hey, pay attention to me. I'm big, I'm flashy, I'm beautiful. It's an awesome card, man, and I will definitely be putting this into my cube. I love the artwork as well, with the dragon here on this sort of rocky outcropping. He's got his wings spread. You can see the aspects of his age by the little chips along his wings. They're a little bit tattered, and you can actually see a few holes in the wings as well. And I like that that speaks to the age of this beast. But look at how majestic he is. He's survived for this long, and that's all the damage that he's really taken. And the whole like shadowed mountain cliff top area that he's standing on as the sunlight is just lighting him up. Oh, it's such a good choice. Magic artwork is amazing, and this card is amazing. This isn't the only dragon we're going to be talking about, but I won't drag this on. Moving on, we've got Ancient Bronze Dragon coming in at number 8 and stealing my heart, my absolute favorite for numerous reasons. One of which is because mono green does not get flyers very frequently, and oh lordy, is this a fat daddy. 2 green and 5 for a 7/7 Elder Dragon with flying. Whenever Ancient Bronze Dragon deals combat damage to a player, roll a d20. When you do, put X +1/+1 counters on each of up to 2 target creatures where X is the result. I had to reread this because my brain went, nah, bro, this has to work like this. I roll the 20-sider and you let me divide those counters amongst 2 creatures. And it's like, no. Just pick 2 creatures and they can get up to 20 +1/+1 counters. I mean, give this guy double strike, son. Yeah. Let's get 80 +1/+1 counters. Let's get a doubling season on the board. Let's go 160 +1/+1 counters. I love the Ancient Bronze Dragon. He makes Pappy happy. He's just sitting atop a tree, crowing his victory. Ah! And look at his wings, man. His wings are like, they've got some beat up aspect to it, but in front of them, you can see these birds that are soaring up like, I don't know, it just gives this vibe that they're not afraid of him. He's this majestic lord of the forest, and the birds are kind of like flying up to be in his presence more than out of terror, because if they were flying out of terror of his bellowing rage, then they would be flying away from him, right? I love the verdant green. I love the perspective. I adore this card so much. I love this Baldur's Gate set. There's so much cool D&D stuff, and I love D&D, and I love Magic. Moving on, it's so pretty. Moving on, we've got Reflecting Pool, another reprint. We've got a bunch of reprints rounding out the bottom of the list here. So, Reflecting Pool is coming in at number 7. This is a land that taps to add a mana of any type that a land you control could produce. So obviously, if you get any land out that goes, hey, I tap for a mana of any color, but I have all these particular restrictions, Reflecting Pool doesn't care about that. Like if you have a land that says tap for the mana in your commander's color identity or whatever, the Reflecting Pool gets access to all of that at the same time. It's sweet. It gets everything that you've got from whatever lands under whatever circumstances and goes, I make it without the restrictions your other lands have on them, right? So this has been, I think this is like, what, the 4th reprinting of this card. There have been a number of different variations. The flavor text says, Gale stared into the pool and saw a stranger. The similarities were uncanny, but it was not him. I really like the idea of that. You look into these magical waters, you see yourself reflected, and you're just like, it's me. But there's something, maybe it's behind the eyes or whatever, but that it's not me. The same soul doesn't reside in there. There's something unnatural about the magic here, right? It's some interesting artwork. This would be a curious locale to visit, right? When I look at artwork like this, I think about the old school days and the way I view Magic the Gathering. You know, Wizards of the Coast has the Planeswalker cards that they've pushed to the forefront in the stories and everything. But I'm old school Magic, where you and I, we're the Planeswalkers. And we travel to different realms of existence, linking up with these mystical locations to draw power from. So we would travel to this reflecting pool and spend time basically creating a magical link with it that we could connect through basically across the entire blind eternities, anywhere in the multiverse. So just by like taking a moment and focusing, you just focus on that particular plane of existence and that reflecting pool, and you draw the magical energies out of it to you. It's so cool, man. I love it. Magic is awesome. All right, let us move on. We're going to talk about number 6 now. The Battle Angels of Tyr. 2 white and 2 for a 4/4 flying angel knight with Myriad. And Myriad says, whenever you attack with this creature, create an extra copy of the creature attacking another opponent for each opponent that wasn't being attacked. So, in a 4-player game of Commander, how it would work is you would attack one of your opponents with the Battle Angel, right? And then the game would go, you have 2 more opponents who aren't being attacked, and go bam, bam, and it would make a token for each of those and swing in on it, which is why this artwork works very well. You've got the main angel in the front to represent the full-on, here's the original, and then you've got the 2 in the background to represent the 2 that are sent at your other opponent. So on the flavor side of it, ties together great. The actual ability of the card is nuts. Whenever this thing deals combat damage to a player, draw a card if that player has more cards in hand than each other player. Then you create a treasure token if that player controls more lands than each other player. Then you gain 3 life if that player has more life than each other player. So you're going to get to do this comparison with each of your opponents when you swing, because the Myriad's going to make sure everybody's well, I guess you have to connect, right? It does have to deal combat damage. But essentially, under the best case scenario, where you've managed to connect with all 3 of your angels, you will get maybe to do all 3 of them, right? You might get to draw a card, you might get to get the treasure token, and gain 3 life, on top of smacking 12 life in total collectively off of your opponents, right? That is very, very good. And the artwork is fun, on top of the fact that it represents the Myriad concept very well. I love that they are right up above this abbey or whatever it is that they're protecting, right? Tyr is a god. So I assume that they are basically protecting some kind of holy building that's consecrated to him. But I love this perspective where we're way up in the air. These angels have basically flown up in front of us like, we're here to stop you, okay? We're the battle angels. And there's just something really awesome about the individual feathers that are floating and drifting down. It makes it feel like these angels whipped up into the air at lightning speed, right? And then they stopped effortlessly on a dime as if it was nothing, with their wings snapped out in front of you, and now these feathers are slowly, gently drifting. So in the blink of an eye, there's this speeding force coming up from the ground that you can't even really see, and then snap, the sound of their wings just flaring outwards, feathers drift down as they're arrayed for combat in front of you. That is amazing. This card is a home run on every level. I love it. Moving on to another one I love. Number 5, Tasha, the Witch Queen. It's so cool to see characters from D&D being given full-on cards like this. 1 black, 1 blue, and 3 get you the legendary Planeswalker Tasha. Whenever you cast a spell you don't own, create a 3/3 black demon creature token. So spells you own come from your own deck. Spells you don't own come from your opponent's decks, all right? Just so we're clear. She's got 4 loyalty, +1 loyalty, draw a card. For each opponent, exile up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from that player's graveyard and put a page counter on it. -3, you may cast a spell from among cards in exile with page counters on them without paying its mana cost. And Tasha the Witch Queen can be your commander. This is a big deal. Her being your commander means it's going to be way easy to recur her. And that makes her a +1 ability where not only are you drawing a card, but you can eat these sorceries and instants out of your opponent's graveyard, putting a page counter on them. It doesn't matter which time you've cast Tasha. You could cast her 5 times down the road. She only cares about cards that have been exiled with page counters, so she can keep track of all of it no matter how many times you've had to bring her back out. And that will also make you more comfortable using her -3 willy-nilly, because who cares? You're just going to get her back again and again, so you can set up insane explosive turns off of your opponent's resources, and they'll never fully be able to predict when it's gonna be coming. So I like that they slapped on that she makes demons as well when you cast your opponent's spells. There's a lot of cool flavor here. You're stealing your opponent's magic and using it to summon up demons while at the same time harnessing their actual magic, right? I love the fact that it uses page counters and the artwork shows her there. Page counters flying around, making me think of that old Super Nintendo Bart Nightmare game. You guys ever play that with the hi there games and stuff like that? And then you've got the black energy wisps flying around as well that can represent the demons being summoned. She's got such a hardcore witchy magic vibe. Like this, again, an absolute home run in terms of delivering epic level flavor. I know when it comes to these high level specific individuals from D&D, there are going to be people who feel like the card doesn't live up to what they want, and I understand. Most of the guys we deal with on the highest level of power, like for example the Tarrasque from the last set, Wizards is going to have a really hard time delivering on the power level that we expect from them because they're just so OP, right? So what are you going to do? Moving on, we've got Minsc and Boo, the Timeless Heroes. I have a Minsc and Boo shirt. I love these guys. 1 green, 1 red, and 2 for a 3 loyalty planeswalker. When it enters the battlefield and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may create Boo, a legendary 1/1 red hamster creature token with trample and haste. I mean, on one hand, I'm glad Boo keeps coming back, but this ultimately encourages you to keep sacrificing Boo, and he's just a poor little space hamster. Leave him alone. He doesn't need that. Don't be mean to him. So he's got a +1 loyalty ability. Put 3 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature with trample or haste. So I love that you can boost up the hamster into a big fat, just keep growing him. Yo, I'm gonna make him a 4/4. Now I'm gonna make him a 7/7. Keep going, you know? It's funky that they tied it into trample or haste specifically, so you can't slap it onto just any creature without a little bit of work. But they gave you a creature to go with it right away, so not too shabby at all. -2, sack a creature, don't you sack Boo! When you do, Minsc and Boo Timeless Heroes deals X damage to any target, where X is that creature's power. If the sacrificed creature was a hamster, draw X cards. I mean, we're going to be sacking that Boo left, right, and center. Let's be real. You cannot give up that card draw. As much as my heart goes out to you, little hamster, I'll pop your head off if it means I get to draw the cards, right? So, Minsc and Boo Timeless Heroes can be your commander. This card is just a lot of fun. The artwork does what it's supposed to. You got Minsc and Boo. It's just, Minsc always just looks so goofy. Because, I mean, I don't know if you guys have figured this out. He doesn't seem like he's quite 100% right in the head, eh? I don't know, man. I love these two. This is great. Is that garlic hanging in the background? That one bulb of garlic is massive. It's almost like a third of the size of Boo. What is he holding in his hand? How does he... Whatever, man. This is an awesome card, but let's move on because I'll be here forever, okay? So, that was our number 4. Coming in at number 3 is Elminster, a perfect example of card that people are going to feel like, yo, this does not encapsulate the power level of Elminster because he's like the best wizard ever. All right, 1 blue, 1 white, and 3 for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. If it makes you guys feel better, think about it this way. Planeswalker cards don't represent the entirety of a planeswalker. They represent a fraction of that planeswalker's power that they're willing to share with you because they are your ally. So this Elminster card represents Elminster being your ally and helping you with some of his power, not the entirety of Elminster's power, all right? So, whenever you scry, the next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn costs X less to cast, where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying this way. +2, draw a card, then scry 2. -3, exile the top card of your library, create a number of 1/1 blue fairy dragon creature tokens with flying equal to that card's mana value. And Elminster can be your commander. Now, ultimately, this is a very solid card, right? It lets you draw. It boosts up its loyalty by a considerable amount with the card draw. It lets you scry through your deck so you can smooth out your draws. While you're scrying, it reduces the cost of your instants and sorceries. And you can set up the top card of your deck to be an expensive card and make a bunch of 1/1 creatures, right? So there is a lot of power packed into this card, but ultimately, I really do feel like it doesn't encapsulate the concept of Elminster. You could basically slap Power Mage on this. Any mage you want, right? Generic powerful mage. So there is that. But it is a good card. I think it's really awesome to see Elminster here in his dope flowing robes with those gigantic open like the sleeves that are massive and open. You've got the staff there with the feathers and everything, the glowing red sphere with the energy flowing off it, like it's basically lancing out to his hand where he's power pointing. That's a new term. It's not just a presentation now, all right? He's got a PowerPoint presentation that he is basically doing through his staff. Okay, guys, next slide. All right, so yeah, ultimately, not too shabby a card at all. But the next card was a real surprise to me. Number 2 is the Archivist of Ogma. And I want you to notice something specifically. This is a rare at number 2. This rarely ever happens. Normally, at the top, you will just find exclusively mythic rares, and I'm genuinely surprised that Wizards did not make this card mythic rare, because it is very powerful and desirable. 1 white and 1 gets you a 2/2 halfling cleric. It has flash, and whenever an opponent searches their library, you gain 1 life and draw a card. This is nuts. Oh, did you want to use your fetch land? Yeah, great. In response, I'll just put this guy out, gain a life, and draw a card. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, no, every time you want to search through for something, knock yourself out. I just, every time you do it, I'm just going to get another card in my hand. Oh, and by the way, we slapped gaining a life onto it as well. Like, just drawing a card by itself feels crazy enough. But they were like, you know what? Let's put game 1 life on it. I feel like this card was made by someone who's bitter at Wizards of the Coast, and they're tired of all the complaining they saw on the internet where people are going, white's the worst color now, huh? Oh, white's the worst color? Oh, white has all this garbage conditional card draw? Oh, white's no good anymore, huh? I'll show you. I'll show them all! And he somehow just made this card, and every time somebody in the design crew was like, bro, this card is too strong. What are you doing? He just grabbed them and shook them. I will show them! And they just foaming at the mouth. And the rest of the team was just like, we have to put this archivist through. I don't know what's going to happen to us if we don't. This right here is Wizards going, oh, white? Yeah, white sucks. White doesn't have good card. Yeah, here you go. Have all the cards. And then when you look at the concept of it, it's amazing too, right? The flavor text says, knowledge is the greatest tool of the mortal mind, outweighing anything made by mortal hands. Before anything else can exist, the idea must exist. And you have a little halfling cleric who's basically, I'm not really familiar with Ogma. I'm going to assume it's a deity who is dedicated to knowledge, right? So basically, the way that this concept's to me is, whenever you go searching for something, the god gains the insight of what it is that you're doing, shares this insight with his followers, and they write it all out. I'm going to write a little book on that. Thanks for teaching us your secrets, boy. And that's kind of the concept. And that's why you have this influx of knowledge. And you have all of these books flying around where he's just like, check out my cleric magic. I value knowledge very much. And it's like, do you? Is there a reason you're juggling these books with magic in a way that possibly could lead to them being damaged? And also you're exposing all these pages to sunlight for no reason, just to show off to somebody who is presumably laying on the floor? What is going on, dude? I mean, I guess it's good that you have this magic, because I just noticed he's missing a hand. So good job on having magic that's so handy to make up for it, bro. But at the same time, I gotta say, you're a little bit too much of a hot dog for the job. You just come in, it's like, hi, I'm looking for a book. I've got books. I've got all the books. He waves his hand. They all start flying off the shelves and going. It's like, look, dude, I know that you're a fan of the original Ghostbusters movie, but we don't need you reenacting this part. Or if you are, maybe go for my belt, huh? Now, while people try and figure out what that one means, I'm gonna move on to the next card. Number 1, Ancient... that belt joke. Okay, Ancient Copper Dragon. 2 red and 4 for a 6/5 flying Elder Dragon. This is the cream of the crop, the big fat daddy that everybody wants to take to the prom. 6/5 flyer that says whenever it deals combat damage to a player, roll a d20. You create a number of treasure tokens equal to the result. So you're going to be getting up to 20 mana, up to 20 artifacts. It's just bonkers. And it's only 6 mana, right? Like, Old Gnawbone with 7 mana is green and gives you treasure tokens equal to the amount of combat damage. You could have this guy just get through for 1 damage with trample or whatever and still get to do the full-on d20 treasure roll. And there's the fact that he falls into the actual dragon color of red. So this is the #1 card from the set. I wouldn't be surprised to see that Archivist kind of take over his spot. I feel like Elminster might end up moving down a bit overall. I feel like Ancient Silver Dragon's probably going to move up over time. But yeah, that was the top 15 currently most expensive cards in the Baldur's Gate set. I hope you enjoyed it, my friends. Big shout out to all my patrons, and I will see you all in the next video.